International freight ton kilometers flown by African airlines in May 2016 edged up 0.2% compared to the same month in 2015. However, that has been the trend since December 2015. The combination of rising capacity and falling demand pushed the African international freight load factor down to just 26.5% in May 2016. Here in Nigeria, the boom of cargo imports is obviously over, and generating exports, especially that of perishable agricultural goods, is the future. That's the thrust of our program. Welcome on board Aviation this week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi.
Air freight plays a critical role in global trade, transporting some 35% of goods traded internationally, and air cargo is any property carried or to be carried in an aircraft. Air cargo comprises air freight, air express, and air mail. Data from the International Air Transport Association shows that air cargo volumes measured in freight ton kilometers suffered a 5.6% fall in February compared to February of 2015. Comparing January and February 2016 performance to January and February 2014 reveals 6.3% volume in growth. This is equal to a 3.1% annualized growth trend. But the airline global body insists the air freight business remains a difficult one. According to the data report, African Airlines FTKs declined by 1.7% in February compared to February of 2015. It also revealed that the largest economies in the region, Nigeria and South Africa, have suffered from the commodity slump over the past 18 months. No thanks, of course, to the slump in Naira and the South African rand against the dollar.
Foods like Benue, we call the food basket, has enough. Same thing with ginger, same thing with, soya beans. We have all that we can export, but unfortunately, most of these things go through our neighboring countries. And of course, if it's leaving that shore, it's labeled as export from that country. It's for government to put their foot down and make export business attractive.
While importation remains at a low time ebb in Nigeria, now may be the time for the export market to open up.
We all know how difficult it is to have access to that now, and of course the exchange rate is also high, and moreover, even the medium scale, importers. I don't even want to talk about the big, importers. Even the medium scale importers that go to China, that goes to Qatar, maybe Doha and Dubai to get stuffs, they can't even go again.
In the absence of an imminent resurgence of demand, the importance of improving the value proposition with modernized processes on exports will require planning and education for farmers who may now hold the ace for the export market.
I will advise the government, as they're talking about creating farmers, empowering farmers, they should as well send professionals to work with the farmers to make sure that the goods we produce here can, even if one have to export, must meet international standards.
At the moment, Nigeria remains quite unfriendly with a high cost of doing business, with variables such as taxes and levies on fuel and cargo being amongst the highest in the world. And so, if the exportation of goods will become a great foreign exchange earner again, now is the time to define the future.
Building a viable export trade through the Nigerian airports will require a lot of infrastructural development. Our guest, MAARTEN KLINJSTRA, who has invested all of his career in the cargo business chain, says the dipping naira and lack of foreign exchange provides the best opportunity for Nigeria to step up the plate. But he starts by comparing cargo business in his home country, South Africa, to Nigeria.
South Africa has a very vibrant manufacturing sector, which requires a lot of imported products and components to do the final assemblies and manufacture. For instance, the auto industry, vehicles are produced in South Africa for the global right-hand drive model market. We also have a very strong agricultural sector that exports quite a lot to the Gulf area as well as to Europe, and a small amount going to the United States. In Nigeria, we are finding that because of the pressure on the naira brought on by the rates of exchange in the parallel market and the lack of foreign currency, many people are looking at exploiting and developing the export sector, which is still very basic compared to South Africa. But there alone lies the opportunity and the challenge for Nigeria to step up to that plate and develop the industry further, which it can do. You have your people, you have your resources, you have water, you have land, minerals, and fuel. So those are the areas where you can place Nigerian products into the global market. Your immediate area where Nigeria would benefit would be in the agricultural sector. A, it's a quick employer of people, because as land starts getting cultivated, you need people to do that. And B, it will generate foreign reserves. Your seasons here are a lot better than in South Africa, being so far south. We have one basic season, whereas here you have many harvests throughout the year. So that basically is how I see the situation at the moment. We need to look at a model where the quality of the product exceeds that of the competitor, as well as the access of supply to that product being as long as possible. It matches gaps and lulls in the global harvesting cycle to be able to present those products to diverse consumers around the world. And secondly, the quality of the handling and the preparation and the packaging of the cargo is very important as well, which would also then result in pricing being a very sensitive matter. The reason being that the nations that compete against Nigeria in the horticultural sector are well established. They have had access to these markets for many years, and to lever them out, you're going to have to look at some very spectacular pricing to make the products attractive. After they're involved with processing exports, the various agencies such as the NDLA and NAFDAC, the bomb squad and the other agencies involved in export get involved in the process. So by the time you've taken your business through that whole pipeline, just the agency expense already prices your product out of the market. Comparatively speaking to countries like Abidjan or Cote d'Ivoire, Abidjan exports and Ghanaian exports are a lot cheaper already because their cost of doing business is so much less. What we would need to look at is the laws of the land being maintained, but the application of the checks and balances being revised. Before we can even look at handling perishable products, we cannot expect them to arrive in a non-refrigerated truck, for instance, because that defeats the object of the exercise. Harvesting at farm would require some sort of a blast cold store environments where you reduce the temperature at harvest and then thereafter maintain it all the way through to the destination.
In part 2, our guest explains how public-private partnership can drive infrastructure development in the cargo sector.